Welcome to another episode of I Get to Sit and Talk About What I Love because I love to talk about it. And you get to sit and listen to me talk about what I love because I said please. Today I'm going to talk about, I got a question from someone I know, and they asked how I came up with the symbols for my alphabet. So for anyone who doesn't know, Madovna, which is basically everybody, Madovna has its own, entirely own alphabet, entirely own set of symbols for the letters, et cetera, et cetera. And how did I come up with these? Are they copies from other languages? Is basically what people tend to ask. I copied all of it. I did not copy all of it. I got influence from other languages, but basically what I did was I sat for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and I drew symbols that were terrible, and some symbols that were amazing, and some that were like, okay. And so if I found one that seemed to match up with the sound I was looking for, so Madovna's alphabet is not the same as English. It's not like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It doesn't follow that pattern. It has more letters with different sounds, as well as some overlap with English. But basically, without knowing the language, because it didn't exist, I did, for some reason, have a feeling when I would like see a certain symbol that I had drawn, and I would go, that one looks like the letter I would use for V, or that's what I would use for this one. And so some of them were perfect, and I was set on them from day one whenever I came up with them, and they have never changed. And some of them I was just not entirely happy with, but I still needed a symbol, so I'd stick with whatever I had. And then over time, I may have changed it. So even within the last year, I've been doing this for like 7 years, and even within the last year, I have changed a couple of the letters. And 2 years ago, even last year, I would change one, and I am now set on those. And I'm wondering, there's maybe like one or two that I'm not entirely sure about, that I might change or alter in some way. But I'm getting pretty close to having them down pat. If not, like just, I may be at that point where I just like leave them alone. They're the ones that I'm not entirely sure about. They are good enough. They're fine. But it did take me this long to settle on them. They just, if they didn't feel right, they didn't feel right. So where did I come up with these symbols? Some of them, I did take influence from other languages. So for some of my numbers, like the Roman numerals, Roman numbers, the Roman numerals and the Chinese numbers. At least to a certain degree, I found them to be quite intuitive. And I liked the idea of intuitive numbers rather than, I think English gets their numbers from Arabic. And while Arabic is very, very pretty, I haven't looked into it too much, but it doesn't look like it's very intuitive in terms of like counting. And I wanted it to be more intuitive. So the numbers, the symbols for those, I spent some time trying to make them intuitive in the way that the Chinese numbers or Roman numerals were a bit intuitive. In terms of the letters, like some I would take from other languages, not exactly, but I really liked, the way that it was written, or the way, like how swooshy it was, or how like, what's the word? I'm thinking like cutty. That's the wrong word. Anyways, but however it looked, I liked it. So for example, I was learning Russian a few years back, and I was learning how to handwrite, because in Russian, the Cyrillic alphabet, what we see on signs and stuff and how cool it looks, that is not how Russians write, or other people who use the Cyrillic alphabet. That is not how they write. They have a handwriting system that is not the same. Similar, but not the same. And so there were letters there that I really liked, and I really liked to write, and I practiced them over and over and over. And so there's a couple letters that are derived from there for sure. I thought they looked very cool, and they were fun to draw. They may not actually even be the same letter. So first of all, I'll see the symbol. I will alter the symbol a bit, and it may not even be the same letter. So while there's influence, it's not necessarily the same. Is there any overlap with English? I mean, some of them might look a little bit like English letters, but they're not. And you'd probably be wrong if you guessed them that way. Vowels. Vowels are one. Korean letters, the Korean writing system, Hangul, is that how you say it? My pronunciation is probably terrible. Hangul. For anyone who speaks Korean, you can laugh at me on your own time, okay? Not right now. But their alphabet is actually it was developed pretty recently, like fairly recently in, considering how old languages and writing systems are. And it is surprisingly intuitive, especially their vowels. And so the intuitive nature that they had with their vowels, I actually stole hardcore. Not this, again, not the same, but the intuitiveness I loved. It's amazing. So I used that they have like a pattern for their vowels. And so I got influence from there. So anyone who speaks Korean, if you see my vowels, most of them, not all of them, but some of them, if you were to look at them, you would be like, I know where you got that. Although it's not going to be the same letter, but you'll know where it came from. But that's what I love. I want people to look at it and go, wow, did you take that from Korean? Did you take that from French? Did you take that from Spanish, Russian, whatever? Yes and no. Maybe so. You will never know what I did and didn't do, because I will not tell you. Of course I'll tell you. I want the familiarity. I want people to feel a familiarity with it. So that's where the symbols came from. I'm not sure what else I can say about them that I haven't already said. I'm sure something will come up or I'll think of something. But yeah. Anyways, that's where I got my influence. Not just from those languages, mind you. Like lots and lots of different languages. Some you wouldn't even think of. Yeah. So eventually I'll get my alphabet out there and people will be able to see it. And that'll be fun. So I don't even have a question for you. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. If you have any comments, comment. And subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. It's just the nice thing to do because I said please. See you next time.